Hey everyone, welcome to Random Live. Um, just a chat about whatever subjects you guys want to talk about. It's not specifically in the paranormal stuff like the other show, so um, don't feel like you have to talk about that, but we can talk about whatever you want. So let's see. I'm just now getting the YouTube notification that we're live. Um, since I'm still awake and not ready to go to sleep. See Barry Browning's here. How's it going, man? Where are you located at? Um, kind of wondering if there's anyone from Australia here. Hey, Mark, how's it going? Welcome. Yeah, we might talk about that a little bit. Uh, but we don't have to talk about much of it, I guess. The random lives are meant to be talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Um, but it's a subject that it's on my mind ever since this whole thing happened, and with all the all the evidence. The entire thing is fraud. I'll just say it, and people don't want to see it. They don't. Their emotions are in the way. They're not you know seeing the logic and why it looks like the entire thing was fraud, and part of the reason for it was to enact tyranny such as what they are seeing in Australia right now. And so I just thought we'd start out talking a little bit about that, and we can talk about whatever you guys feel like, though. Um, Barry's in Mississippi. Hey, I'm in Oklahoma here. You are. Um, hey, Mr. Lee, what's up? Let's see. Yeah, we got a few people up in here. The news about Australia is, we talked about it a little bit last night. For a country to use the military on their own citizens is just insane to me. Mark says the trouble with Australia is there are 6 states and 2 territories which are independently governed, although there is a federal government. Time for a change to federal government rule only. You think that would prevent what's going on down there now? Because my understanding is that the martial law that apparently is in effect, they may not be calling it that, but it sure looks like it. Um, it's just in one city. Uh, hey, Michael, welcome. Mark says the military is for support, not martial law. Agreed. They're supposed to defend the citizens. So why are they down there trying to enforce a lockdown on them? This entire thing is crazy. Everything about the situation shows. I mean, if you look at the like the testing and I mean the test, they were giving people tests that didn't even test for the virus. I mean, they tested for indicators that they claimed proved you had it, right? But it could indicate a lot of things. It didn't prove anyone had the virus. And then they lied about some of them. People having death, dying from other things, and then they were writing COVID on the death certificate. The CDC website, I read it myself. It telling the doctors that they didn't have to test people that died. If you died with a cough, they could write COVID on your death certificate, even though they didn't test you. They have no proof you had COVID at all. The statistics, all-cause mortality, there's no significant rise in deaths last year. Flu statistics, flu kills hundreds of thousands of people every year. I think it's over 600,000 worldwide. But apparently flu took a little bit of a break last year if you look at the statistics. So, it seems like they're up to something else. And taking more control over us, using this as an excuse, may have actually been part of their plan. Pyromedic, welcome. Says, I don't own a TV anymore. Is there anything on the news about it? I don't know. I haven't owned a TV for years. Hearing it through other channels. I did see some articles online about it, though. They are deploying. I guess yesterday they started it. They deployed the military to enforce lockdown on their citizens in one city. Michael Haywood says, Barry Browning caught you on Brunch with Bigfoot. Good show. Paramedic says, the hospital's got a big payday for each COVID patient. Yeah. Talk about conflict of interest. I guarantee you there were plenty of administrators telling the doctors to play fast and loose with what they called the virus. Elon Musk even tried that. That dude's kind of wacky as hell, but he tried to tell us. He tried to tell us that test was useless. It didn't tell you anything. He took it 4 times with the same nurse. Same test, same nurse. Took it 4 times and he got 2 negatives and 2 positives. Well, how useful is a test that half the time it's wrong? Right? I mean, if he had it, it was wrong half the time. If he didn't have it, it was wrong half the time. Or the test doesn't even test for the virus, which we know. And it throws positives for something, and they claim that's a positive for the virus. And then they can put that on their statistics and say, look at how many cases we have, and look how many of those people died and scared the shit. This is a crime, a major crime perpetrated on us by our governments is what this is. Now, what they're really up to, it's hard to say, but they certainly did use it to allow themselves to enact a bunch of tyranny on the whole damn world. Mark says, I don't know what you've seen, but it is not being reported as such in Australia. The military supports health department. Law enforcement are doing the lockdown. They're saying the military is actually... Now, the law enforcement supports, yes, they're saying the law enforcement supports the government and the military, but they're saying that the military is actually being used. saying thanks to Michael. And Pyromedic says, I knew people that left the long testing line and were notified they were positive the next day. Isn't that interesting? So they didn't even take the test. I mean, if that right there tells you something, right? That they were planning on faking. I mean, because they faked it. I mean, they didn't take a test. They just gave them. So what were they on a list that they were in line waiting, and then they weren't even. If they just assigned them, what they do? Assign them positive or negative at random. Just so I mean, were they even looking at the test results, or they just know that the test results mean nothing? So we're just going to assign people at random, and we're claiming there's this big thing going on. You guarantee big businesses like the whole situation because a lot of small businesses got shut down. Explain to me why a mom and pop store downtown has to shut down. Maybe some of those places, they might have a one customer in there at a time typically, but Walmart's still open down there. It's okay for Walmart with dozens or hundreds of people to be open, but I mean, seriously, the entire thing stinks of absolute fraud. Michael Hayward, I guess, talking to Barry, when you told your encounter about the bridge, I remember what Mark Newbill said. Mark Dobbins says, military being used to assist. They do not have the law enforcement powers. They do check CCC, but support where they're needed. Okay. But still, I mean, why are they doing that at all? If all these indications are that it's fraud, is I mean, seriously, there's no show us proof that this exists. But when the CDC was asked for isolated samples, they didn't have them. Well, how can you say something exists if you can't isolate a sample of it? And I don't even know. I haven't looked into it for a while, but how much you want to bet they never came up with an isolated sample of it? Because there was doctors speaking up against it, saying, "Look, we don't see any evidence of anything else going on here. These people just have the flu like normal. So normal year, normal illnesses, normal deaths." But the media isn't going to report that. Pyromedic says they had to sign up and sit in the car line, and had to leave. Mr. Lee says, Lockbeard, there are riots here because of it. Faking the death numbers is old news in London. Something is going down. I agree. They were trying to play it like the hospitals were just inundated here, but people went down there and filmed, and they're like, look, there's these tents over here, and they're trying to act like they're expecting a bunch of people, but there's no one there. There was very little activity at those hospitals. Everything, there's so many indications that this whole thing was fraud. It's absolutely not funny. And are our governments going to get away with this? They try to act like they're separate governments, right? Does anyone actually believe that there isn't a world government at play here? They just try to act like they're separate. China's there to be our, that's who we blame for. Yeah, this came out of China. Some damn Chinese, How convenient that none of us can actually walk to Wuhan and just try to see what we can find ourselves. It's way out of reach. Even if we could get there, it would be a dangerous place for us to go messing around, right? Probably get picked up and have our organs sold in the black market. Michael Hayward says the big guy who got shaky and puked when Mark touched his hand. I don't know. I guess I saw that. Barry says, "Great, that's a great story. So glad I met Larry and Mark when I did." Pyromedic says the gun they are holding doesn't need law enforcement powers, just the fact they are there. Yeah, that is very true. Especially when you got a population that's disarmed, they can't defend themselves. And it's, to me, it's the same with the cops. I'm like, I've tried to explain to people, it's like they have a gun, which means I'm under duress. I'm not complying because I'm agreeing to shit. I'm not agreeing to anything. You have a gun, and you guys have proven that you will sometimes shoot people if they don't comply. So I'm under duress, under threat of being murdered. I have to comply with you guys, even though you're enforcing laws that are just blatantly unconstitutional in some cases. And that's what people, try to say, oh, America's the freest place. No. You couldn't even, well, you still can't smoke weed in some places just because. I'm not a big advocate for people using that. But how the hell, in a free country, can you tell people they can't smoke a stupid plant? It's absolutely insane. That's not freedom. It's just, seriously. Mark Dahman says, interestingly, in the initial breakout last year, there were quite a few people on ventilators in the ICU. Now none. Yeah. And they found out that those ventilators were actually causing people to die. Something there, it's another thing there. Mark Dodman says the military do not carry guns when supporting the community in Australia. Our military support the community in fires, flood, and now this COVID. What COVID, though? I mean, seriously, I just mentioned a bunch of things that together I think prove there is no COVID. They didn't isolate the virus. The test doesn't test for the virus, so it can't detect what it doesn't test for. The all-cause mortality didn't rise, and the flu statistics went down. They were writing down all the flu cases that they could get away with as COVID, along with other things they were writing down. A guy I know, they tried to put COVID on his mom's death certificate. And he went and raised hell and had them take it off because she was old and had, normal old people illnesses. And she died from normal causes. And they were trying to add her to their statistics. Now, why did they take it off when he raised hell? Is it because it wasn't true? I mean, if it was true, and this is such a big deal, couldn't they say, look, legally we have to put this on there. We have to do this. It would, or you would think they would have some kind of reasoning why they can't alter that document just because someone raises hell. No, I don't think it's true at all. They showed us video of people dead in the streets in other countries. I didn't see any of that here. It was all fear mongering. It was all to scare us and make us comply and make us wear a mask. Even though Fauci was at some point saying you don't need mask, and at another point he was saying you do need mask, and at another point he was saying you need 2 masks. Well, make up your damn mind, you sorry sack of shit. Jesus Christ. Mr. Lee says, Mark Dobman, how many people went to hospital with COVID symptoms and the doctors put them on ventilators and they died? Yeah, I think they flat out killed some people to support the idea that there was a pandemic. I guarantee you, some people died because of the psychosomatic effects. You tell people they're going to get sick, you convince them they're going to get sick, they'll get sick in some cases. We know that happens. We know that people can make themselves sick if they believe they're going to be sick. The stress from all this probably made some people sick that wouldn't have otherwise got sick. And some of them probably died from it because they were already weak. Their immune systems were already depressed. They had pre-existing conditions. They caused some of these deaths, guaranteed. Telling people to stay inside, stay out of the sun. This didn't do well for some people either, right? Mark Dom says, I just used the name most are familiar with. Hey, Squatch and Cowboy, welcome. Can't believe you're still up, huh? Mr. Lee says, if it's all a lie, why have they done this? A test? Well, look at Australia. They've been able to justify, lockdown. Here we are. It's, year and a half later, and they got people locked down. They want us to get used to being under stricter control, to complying. We tell you to stay inside, you stay inside. I mean, we just went over this whole list of things that prove, I think. I don't know how anyone could look at that list of things and, all together and say, well, it was real. No. There's no way that entire list of things is true and this big lie. No. For what? I mean, governments always want more control, right? I mean, they use global warming for the same thing. They got half the country spooked over global warming, and they're supporting the government's efforts to create regulations to take more control over us and our property. And they killed some more small businesses with that because the small businesses couldn't afford the equipment to meet with the environmental requirements. So I guarantee you big business has something to do with this. But Sparks Cowboy says, hey, Barry. Hey. Yeah, paramedic. True. And I bet they wrote COVID on those death certificates too. Or at least a lot of them. How did he die? Self-inflicted gunshot wound. But he had a cough, so we can call it COVID. The CDC said they could. I read it several times. I couldn't believe I was reading that on the CDC website. And all the people that believe this load of bullshit, I wonder how many of them have ever looked at the CDC website. You know what I mean? They need to admit to themselves the possibility and set their emotions aside and actually look into these things we've been talking about. Because I don't see how anyone can deny it at this point. But geez. He says that he guesses the beer is the best medicine. Yeah. It might be. Paramedic, yeah, it sure did. Um, Mark says lockdowns have been happening since February last year. The Victorian government even put in place a ring of steel around Melbourne, all without military. I think a lot of countries, a lot of the countries out there will tolerate stuff like that a lot more easily than Americans. Americans are we're bred rebels, and not enough so. So we got some people that are willing to submit just fine, but I got sick last winter. Seemed like a normal flu to me, you know. And I didn't go get tested. I never wore a mask, and I did not use hand sanitizer because people were learning that hand sanitizer was actually depressing their immune systems and making them more likely to get sick. Your immune system needs to be constantly challenged to upgrade, to adapt to the latest strains, and if you don't allow it to do that, then you're more likely to get sick and you're more likely to die. Well, I mean, they're inventing new strains all the time. They intend to keep us all under thumb indefinitely. The constant threat of this thing that has no evidence it exists. The CDC could not produce an isolated virus. They couldn't. There were doctors trying to whistleblow on this, and no one was listening to them. Well, some people were, but the media doesn't want to report on those, and the government's not going to tell you that. The statistics should be enough. There was a new virus last year killing people. There should have been a significant increase in the all-cause mortality statistic. We didn't have it. It looks like a normal year, people dying from normal causes, and their doctors have been given this test. The doctors don't know what that test is. I mean, they were told some stuff. They didn't personally confirm the virus existed. They're just doing what they were told. They got their administrators saying, look, write COVID on everything because we get a bunch of cash every time you do that. This all adds up to a major fraud. Marks Dama says, we'll send in Messenger. Cowboy don't want to take up too much here. Yeah, fishing. Mr. Lee says, my dad wouldn't leave the house for months. He watched the news all day and was terrified. He's 81 years old. Fear, control. Yes. Yeah. This has got to be the greatest act of domestic terrorism ever perpetrated on the people. They did it to the entire world. And apparently most of the governments in the world were in on this. They act as one. I'm not convinced that a lot of these wars weren't just, they didn't sit down and say, okay, we're going to have a war. This is going to be our excuse for it. You know what I mean? Does anyone put that past our government? The government that gave those blankets to the Indians, right? They've been doing this a long time. They know the game. So, no, I'm not buying it at all. No one can prove to me that this thing exists. They just can't. They have no one can produce anything that can contradict the facts that we know that prove it never existed, that it was all a lie. So, and half the people won't listen. They won't listen because they're emotionally compromised, or they think they need their doctor speaks the gospel when your doctor doesn't actually know. He doesn't actually know you have anything. He just knows that these tests were sent to them and they were said, if the test shows positive, you got it. Except we know that those tests did not detect this supposed virus. Detected little fragments that could have come from a lot of things. It's insane. It's insane. Pyromedic says, smart people keep asking, how much longer do you think the population can keep growing before we use up our food and water supply? Population control in the works. There's a lot of people saying that. Personally, I do think that we as a species need to reduce our population. But they don't need to do anything in European countries and America and Australia. They don't need to do anything there, because all they got to do is maintain tight border control. Don't let anyone in that doesn't want that. No one new in that doesn't meet really strict requirements. But because the birth rate is lower in all those countries than what you need to replace the previous generation. So those populations are shrinking naturally on their own. So if you keep your borders tight and you just let those countries do what they're doing naturally, the people, you don't need to do anything. The population will reduce. It's the other countries you got to worry about. Now, China, they had that one-child policy going on and all that. But which I think has been lifted. But and another thing people don't understand is that sending all this aid to some of those third world countries is actually causing more problems. It's not solving the problems, because when you go into most people haven't heard about the demographic transmission model. And what that's about is when you're a third world society, right? You have a very high infant mortality, very high death rate, because you don't have clean water, you don't have adequate food, all these things that your medical ability is just not there. You don't necessarily have the greatest agriculture. You have a death rate, but you also have a very high birth rate, and they kind of balance each other out. Well, once you transition to first world status, your death rate comes down and your birth rate comes down, and they don't necessarily stay together, but they get there and kind of balance out typically, so that everyone's having fewer kids, but there's way fewer deaths. But when you go into a third world country and you give them medicine and you give them food, you reduce their death rate without reducing their birth rate. So you have this big population explosion that shouldn't happen, and the next thing you know, you have way more people starving. In a lot of cases, they're starving worse than they were before, and a lot more people dying. And that's caused by trying to help them. It's because people don't think things through. They just want to throw food or medicine or money at something and they think it's going to fix it. No, you can't do that. You got to think things through, and those people probably weren't that bad off before. They were probably just living kind of wild, and people thought, oh, these poor people, they need clothes. No, not necessarily. Are they truly starving? Or are they just living off the land and living wild and you don't like it? Or maybe it makes you feel good to send your cup of coffee worth a change. Brandy says, I'm here, but I'm half asleep. So just go and listen. Hi, everybody. Cowboy, feel better. Cowboy says he feels better. Mr. Lee 3PO says, it's the vaccine. What's in the vaccine? Why are they so insistent we have the vaccine? I don't know, but I don't trust it. I think there's some situations where you might use one, but there's even a problem in those cases. The immune system, the average immune system in the species stays strong because of the constant challenges. Unfortunately for us, we like to be compassionate for every single individual, but unfortunately, if you don't let some people die and they don't pass their genes on to the next generation, then you start to, by keeping them alive and they're passing those weaker genes on to the next generation, you are actually breeding your population to have weaker immunity and to be more likely to get sick in the long run. So what do you do, right? Because you don't want to let people just die from some of these diseases. Unfortunately, there's no way to do it, I don't think, within a free society. Because basically, you would have to for one, it'd take a lot of money. You'd have to test everybody and would come up with accurate way of determining when a person's immune system is not strong enough to be passing on their genes. And then you got to somehow prevent them from breeding. There's just no way to fix it. There's no good answer to the question. It'd be ideal if you could use the vaccines when appropriate for, smallpox and all that stuff, but somehow reduce the amount of the transmission of the genes that were weaker, that passed on, that made it possible for that person to die from that when other people would not. But you start talking about stuff like that, people get real nervous, though. There's no good solution. I think we're in for a bad end no matter what we do, I think. We like our freedom, and unfortunately that's kind of a problem for the long-term survival of the species. It will kill us eventually. Mark Dama said there are concerns regarding blood clotting with the virus for certain demographics in the population. Also, there are records of vaccinated people contracting the whatever it is. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are convinced that they were actually infected by the vaccine. The same thing for flu. A lot of people I've talked to, they said, I got the flu after I got the vaccine. I'm like, well, I haven't had a flu vaccine in literally decades. And, I'm fine. I like to have my immune system challenged appropriately, and I weather through it just fine. If I got so horribly sick that I thought I might die, then maybe I'd go get help from a doctor. But maybe that's the way to handle it. If someone gets too sick, then they go see a doctor and get help. But don't just broadly vaccinate millions of people and think you're not going to have consequences for that later, because you will. You will. Mark Dodman says there are concerns regarding. Well, I think you put that in twice. I see what happened. Pyromedic says I hadn't been sick since I took the flu shot in 2002. 2 days after I took the vaccine, I had COVID. I was sicker than I have ever been. Lungs whited out with pneumonia, heart and lungs damaged. Of course, you can't know for sure, but it's possible they made you sick. What if they put something in a certain percentage of those vaccines to do it on purpose? I mean, it's just speculation, but what if they did? People might think that, well, the government will never do that to you. I refer you back to the blankets they gave to the Indians. Yes, they would. Yes, they would. They have no problem killing every last one of us if it serves their purpose. You cannot trust these people. Paramedic says, I have no antibodies present 7 months later. My work partner has no antibodies 3 months later after the vaccine. Yeah. But again, if the whole thing is a lie, antibodies for what? They're just claiming it is what it is. I mean, another issue is that if they're looking for immune response, and your immune system also responds to radiation. If you're getting exposed to certain types of radiation, like 5G, hopefully everybody knows now that your cell phone is damaging to you, right? It's damaging radiation. I mean, hopefully everybody knows that by now. That's why you should try to limit, how much you have it in your pocket, and kind of keep it, if you don't keep it away from you when you're sleeping, but I saw someone talking about that, how for women, the incidence of breast cancer, I can't remember which part, but breast cancer most often, appears at certain places. Well, after cell phones started being used and women like to tuck it in their bra, they saw that the cases of breast cancer at that location increased. And I see all these women putting cell phones in their back pocket. They might get ass cancer, man. Swallow that sucker up. They might look good to some of the guys, but we'll see. Let's see if we have an epidemic of that. I don't know, but I guess breasts are kind of susceptible, and that's an issue. That is an issue. So what else is going on with y'all? This the Australians shouldn't tolerate this whole thing. They just should. It's crazy. I mean, jeez. I was raising hell with restaurants and stores, trying to get people to wear masks and stuff. The ones that were requiring it, I was not doing business with them. But other than that, I went about normal daily activities. So everybody's still there? Or did the YouTube gods shut us down. I don't put it past them. We probably said enough words that are forbidden words so far that they're probably. But I don't know. I've noticed they seem to have chilled. So I don't know if maybe they've accomplished what they intended to accomplish at this point. Um, some people talk about an economic reset, which I was warning people of a decade ago, that something like that would happen. Um, in fact, whenever the damn feds were having a conversation with me, I don't think they would. I think that they would say that it was not an interrogation. But, and I mentioned it, I said, I can see what you guys are doing. I can see how you you have created an economy that is not sustainable. It's inherently unstable, the way y'all are doing things. All your bailouts and stimulus bills. This is not a sustainable system. And that one day you guys will fleece the sheep one last time. And then all the rich fucks that control this whole mess will, go somewhere else while America descends into chaos and civil war, and that very well could have happened last year. But I think they weren't counting on how resilient Americans can be, and people in a lot of these countries have been. We can endure a lot of bullshit, and we did. But eventually it'll happen. The U.S. There's nothing backing the U.S. dollar. It's just a piece of paper. As soon as people stop believing in it, it will lose all value. Mark Goldman says he's still here. Michael Hayward says, do you believe microwaves are unsafe? Well, they are. I mean, I can't really explain, but people really shouldn't use them at all. They do shit to the food. And, I mean, you clearly don't want to be, because the reason why it has a screen in the glass window of the door, it is the microwave it's a Faraday cage made to hold in those frequencies, because you no need to be exposed to it. But it doesn't get them all. It doesn't stop at all. So no, they're not really safe. I mean, you're not going to drop dead standing next to a microwave, true, but they're not good for you. They're not something we should be using. But everybody's got them, and yeah, everybody's got them. So what are you going to do? I mean, here lately, I eat at restaurants and stuff, but but when I'm cooking for myself, I'm cooking on the fire, on cast iron. So, I don't have a microwave. I mean, if I had living the van life, doing the microwave thing just isn't really feasible unless you can plug in regularly and get enough power. And I never put the solar panels on the van. I thought about it for a while, but I didn't do it. I didn't want to spend all that money. But So, Mr. Lee, you still here? It was an interesting show over at Squatch Talk and Mogs. So I hope most of y'all caught those. Pyromatic says, had a guy reach for his food in one that didn't stop when he opened the door, and it, oh my gosh, burnt/cooked his hand internally. You know how the on the military vessels they had that big dish, as microwaves, and the guys, some of them would stand in front of that thing to get warmed up. I wonder how many of their kids were born with defects. There was somebody. I don't know. I guess it never came to fruition. They were talking about how the microwaves don't penetrate very deep. So they were talking about this invention that you install in your house, and so you wouldn't have to heat your house. It would just heat you up just enough to keep you comfortable. I didn't think that would go because people are not going to want to. People are not going to want to be microwaved, and I could see something going wrong too, right? A little power surge, and suddenly all your cells explode. Mr. Lee says, "What movie was it they cooked a baby in a microwave?" I damn, did they allow a movie like that to be made? I don't know, Mr. Lee. I didn't. I am not aware. I'm not aware of a movie. I'm gonna try and do a quick search here. Baby cooked in microwave movie. See what DuckDuckGo has to say. Um, what the hell? Was there aliens, Mr. Lee? Could I see something? There's a YouTube video. I don't want to start a YouTube video, but something says dad invites alien visitors into his home. But the title, it says aliens put baby in a microwave. Then under that, there's a world news. It says it's like an article. It says babysitter on crystal meth eats 3-month-old. What the fuck? There it is again. I don't know if those are real articles though. Mother burned her baby to death in microwave because she was having a seizure. How in the hell, when you're having a seizure, were you able to put the kid in there? I'm calling bullshit on that one. Month-old baby girl dies in microwave. Here's another one. Cooked in a microwave oven. She lived with... What the hell? Couple cooked their 4-month-old baby. See, now down here we got says the babysitter high on meth. He's tall. It says false. I'm not sure I'm catching the movie though, Mr. Lee. I'm not aware of a movie where that happened. I remember Gremlins. Remember a gremlin getting blowed up in a microwave. Michael Haywood says baby bake off. Mr. Lee, I can't remember Lockbeard. That's why I'm asking. Michael, yeah. Um, Remiel says, "Good day to our chat friends from Australia, and hello all in chat." Hello, Remiel. Glad to see you. It happens, huh? I don't know, man. Have any of you guys seen the new Black Widow movie? I won't go see it myself, but um, I've seen some clips, a spoiler review, that kind of stuff. Good. I mean, they already killed the character in the series of movies, so why they bothering to why they bothering to do an origin story on her? I don't. I mean, they I don't know why they do some of this shit. It's ridiculous. Um, they did the Wonder Woman 1984. My understanding is it didn't do well either. The original Wonder Woman movie did pretty good. It wasn't a bad movie, I don't think, but the other one did not. And like, why do they keep going back and doing prequel stuff and earlier stuff? Oh well, I mean, I haven't. It's nowhere near resembling a script. I got a lot of different stuff. Uh, some of it's my own original, and then but it's not in script form. It's outlines, notes, and stuff like that. Most of it's still in my head, because I can't justify the tremendous amount of time I would have to put into fleshing out a script. Um, but stuff on like some ideas for like Star Wars movies, ideas for Star Trek, a Star Trek series, um, which that was the one I was talking about the other night, where I wanted to include a Sasquatch character on board the ship, and not a member of the crew, because that's going to be part of the deal is that Sasquatch would never join, Starfleet, because it just doesn't, it's not within their behavioral complement, right? It's not something they would do. But they do go on this particular ship because of the way it's designed. They feel comfortable to go on the ship as passengers, really. And yeah, so I don't know how much of a rundown. I mean, basically that, if you're talking about that, it's about Picard and Data as pretty much carryovers from the next generation, and I don't know what all to tell you. It's they're going on an extremely long-term mission, so this is a whole nother ship and designed to almost be like a star base in itself. Um, and I kind of wanted, because a lot of people aren't aware that they had on the ships that they had. If you look at the schematics, they had a section on the ships that called cetacean ops. Cetaceans are whales, so supposedly they actually had whales and dolphins on board the ships, and they actually performed some function. And for whatever reason, the whales were in command of the dolphins. But um, which I would think would be really interesting to kind of explore, like the possibility that those species are potentially as intelligent as we are. They're just different, you know. Perhaps a perfectly intelligent species could develop, but it doesn't have the ability to uh, to build stuff like we do. We just happen to have hands, you know, so we can build stuff. But they, being the kind of animal they are, they could never do something like that. So what if they are that intelligent, but we haven't developed enough to figure out how to communicate with them and understand that. So it's almost like we're the stupid ones, right? And we assume that an intelligent species must be a species that would have any interest at all or ability to build technology and develop technology. So it was my thought to kind of explore that. And also with uh, I was thinking about making this an officer uh, uh, that's actually is a fungus. But as you know, they also do not have hands. But now, in reality, scientists have been able to determine that fungi seem to have some level of problem-solving ability, but they're just so drastically different from us. How do we talk to this thing? They think that because in the ground, they know there's communication going on. So like they've experimented with this. If you have plants in pots and one of the plants is facing a challenge of some kind that it needs to make an enzyme for, and it learns how to make that enzyme to fight that challenge, a disease or whatever. Well, if there's another plant in a pot nearby, that other plant won't do anything until it faces the challenge this plant does. But if they're both planted in the ground where a mycelial network can connect their roots, somehow it communicates to the other plant the challenge it's running into. So this plant over here will create that enzyme in anticipation of having to deal with that same challenge. So they have ability to communicate. The Japanese, I think, did the experiment where, like with some kind of fungus, and they had the fungus design create the most efficient design for a subway system. So I was thinking, let's run with this, right? And say that this crazy scientist decided to try sticking that fungus where a brain would be in an android. And now it has the ability to communicate with us. I just thought, too often on Star Trek, the characters are not drastically different organisms. Klingons, Bajorans. Most of them they look just like us, but they have a different wrinkle on their head, right? Should try to. Occasionally they do it though. Remember the Horta from the original series? It looked like a big pile of kind of rocks and lava, and then Spock mind melded with it. It's that was very different, but they don't do that, often enough. How often? But they did come up with an explanation why a lot of the aliens look just like us, but we know why they did that. It's because they had to come up with something because, well, they didn't have to come up with anything. Everyone understands that they have to work with what they got, right? The actors are human, so they got to work with what they got. They got limited budget, so they can't get too elaborate most of the time. Yeah. Mr. Lee says, Lockbeard, you can go and see a drive-in movie in the Imperial van. No? Do they even have any of those anymore? I don't know. But I mean, I don't. I started boycotting all movies 2 years ago. That's why I don't go to the movies. I got sick of this woke stuff. They ruined the stories. Well, I mean, even without the woke stuff, it's poor writing most of the time. Just crap writing. It's like they're not even trying. But then on top of that, they put the woke stuff in there, and I'm like, I get it. I'm an evil racist, right? I'm too pale, so obviously I'm evil. Lockbeard favorite movie. Um, that's a hard decision. It's gonna be some kind of sci-fi or fantasy, though. I'm much more interested in those. I've had friends that said they didn't like sci-fi, and I was like, I don't get what's wrong with sci-fi. You know, sci-fi has drama and comedy and action and all the same stuff. The same stuff your movies have. It's just got aliens and robots and shit sprinkled in. You know, they throw a little weirdness in. I prefer sci-fi that tries to be more intelligent. If it's just goofy, stupid shit, you know, it kind of ruins it for me because I analyze the fuck out of it. Like, how plausible is this? But I try not to. Like with Star Trek, you kind of got to let it slide because the reality is there's not a lot that's truly plausible on Star Trek. A lot of it's so ridiculous. So, but with movies, Firefly is going to be up there pretty high. If you've never seen it, well, no, it's not. The movie's not called Firefly. The movie's called Serenity. It started out. Joss Whedon made this. You know, he's screwed some shit up, but Firefly, I feel, is the TV series was like a home run, like because he's a guy, you know, Buffy and Angel and all that shit he made. That was dumbass shit. I don't care how you twist it, but he made this TV show called Firefly, and most people probably are going to think about what they're seeing. And hell, Joss Whedon may not have really realized what he did, but basically what you're seeing is posts. It's in space and it's after humans left Earth, but it's pretty much kind of like the situation of imagine a captain of a ship trying to run, you know, trying to find jobs with his ship to, you know, move supplies or whatever, or do jobs. Um, and imagine that guy. Maybe he's not doing it on a boat, and it's after the Civil War in the United States, and this guy fought for the South, and he, you know, he's under the thumb of the Union government now because the Union won, and but it's kind of like that, except in the show, the equivalent of the Union government, the U.S. federal government now, they call it the Alliance government, and he was on the side of the independents, and they were trying to be free of the Alliance, these worlds that were part of the independents, I guess. But they lost, and they are under the thumb of the Alliance, and the Alliance is evil, and they do all this shit. Anyway, it was I think it's one of the greatest sci-fi shows there ever was. There are no aliens or robots. Well, there is a robot. I take that back. But it was a really small. It was dumb. It was this guy's love bot. But anyway, they shut the show down, and I have a feeling that they shut it down because it was striking too close to home. You know, because the Alliance government won, and they are the bad guys. And those of us that side with the South, you know, even though I wasn't there for the Civil War, it was a long time ago, but I side with the South, and a lot of people don't understand why. They think he must be a racist. Everything's, no. It was about the rights of the states to be sovereign. They were sovereign nations. See, Americans think of their nation as the United States. It's called the United States. It's a union of a bunch of nations. But they've been just bombarded with all the propaganda that, the United States is your nation. And now people think they have to be loyal to the federal government instead of being loyal to their state government. And anyway, I think because the show portrayed the equivalent of the United States government in the show as the evil ones, I think somebody didn't like that. They didn't like that idea being planted in people's heads, and they shut the show down. But Joss Whedon wanted to bring some kind of conclusion to it, so he pushed hard and made the movie called Serenity, which is the name of the ship that the main character owns. It's a Firefly class vessel, but the name of it was Serenity. So it's a pretty good movie. The idea of liberty is important in the show and the movie. And that's part of the reason why I like it. Michael wants you to choose Star Wars or Trek, Mr. Lee. You reckon what? Reckon too, bra. Remiel says, well, I gotta catch up. What could the reasons for exhibited intelligence of dolphins and whales? What is it with their brains that make them so? Well, I mean, I don't know. For whatever reason, they're pretty intelligent animals. I think that there may have been a lot more interaction with dolphins and whales during the past with humans. We have a bunch of semi-aquatic adaptations, and I think there's been a lot more interaction with us. But we need more data to try and figure out what really happened. And did that interaction cause evolution of greater intelligence in them? But it's very interesting, how they're just so unbelievably intelligent, but we can't understand what they're saying. They're communicating something, but we don't really understand what they're saying. And things that they do, like, saving people. Both dolphins and whales have saved people in some cases. Why did they do that? But yeah, I couldn't tell you why they are intelligent, but and their brain structure may be different from ours, but certainly doesn't mean they can't also be very intelligent, and maybe it's a different type of intelligence, and that may add to our inability to really understand them. Mr. Lee says Star Trek. He prefers Star Trek. But Michael Hayward says Star Wars, but you like the old school track. Voyager, Mr. Lee likes Voyager. Oh, were you upset last night when I was railing on the final episode of Voyager? I think that was last night. Pyromedic says, denial. Did you retract that message, or did YouTube? I've seen that happen before and was wondering, retract what message? I didn't retract any message. This is a free speech zone. I don't retract any damn message. YouTube will shut down some of your messages, man. If they don't like something you said, yeah, I don't recheck messages. Someone would have to really say something. Just it'd have to be bad for me to do anything like that. I don't even know how to do that. I guess I should find out. Because occasionally you get those. Okay, I see. You can put user in timeout or block user, but that doesn't say. I don't know. I don't care anyway. But I mean, I don't care about deleting messages. As far as I'm concerned, it's like we're in a room and we're just talking, and hey, whatever you say is your business. So I don't know, man. William Shatner rocks, huh? Michael Hayward like Spock, I guess. Rainbow says, why are whales and dolphins extinct? What did studies show about this? I don't know why they're exhibiting intelligence. I really haven't looked at studies trying to figure that out, though, either. I really don't know. They just do. That's about the extent of what I know. It's really William Shatner sings Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds is wicked good. Admiral Twin in Tulsa is a drive-in. Huh. Yeah, but I ain't going to Tulsa. I'm not watching any movies at all, hardly now. Maybe if it's on YouTube for free. Like I got a playlist on this channel of some free movies. And I'm always looking for something to add to it. Some of them aren't that great, you know. Like there was one, it's kind of a short, it's not very long really, called Every Win. It's not the best movie. It's okay for this, just something to watch, but they needed somebody to script doctor that bitch. They need to do a little more, put a little more effort. Yeah, Spock was an awesome character. I like the idea of learning to be in control of your emotions. You know, have them, but be in control of them. Don't let them control you. Favorite alien movie? You mean of the Sigourney Weaver movies, or just movies with aliens in them? I don't know. Um, um, Speaking of Alien, I mean Alien, I thought was a good movie. Aliens, not too bad, but and then Alien 3, I believe, was the one where she was at that prison. They shaved her head. That was okay. But then they did Alien Resurrection, which was just god awful stupid. There were some fun moments in it, you know. Um, had some Winona Ryder in there. That's always nice. And the guy that played Hellboy, kind of like that actor. Um, but the movie was overall just stupid. You know, the Predator movie, the original Predator movie, uh, with Arnold was awesome. But it's just like with all these different franchises, you know, a lot of times they make this movie and they want to try and milk it for some more money, and they should have just left it as one movie. A lot of people feel the same way about The Matrix, that they should have left it as one movie. People were not happy with the second and third movie. There was all kinds of problems with all those movies, but I liked the first movie. It was all right. that was one of those cases. See, this is one of the reasons why I'm leery of even getting involved. I don't want someone messing with my stories, right? So if I write a script and they say, "Hey, we want to make this movie, but we want to make this change," they're gonna want to stick some damn identity politics in there or some bullshit like that, or they're going to want to change something for some stupid reason. Well, and I'm not happy. I'm not going to be happy about that if they do something like that. I don't want to agree to something like that. Matrix is one of those things, and I think you're going to agree that they should have left this alone, because they felt that the audience would not understand. They would have a hard time understanding the use of human brains for processing power. That was the reason why the machines were keeping humans, right? So they had them change it to they're using them for batteries, which is dumb as fuck. There's a bunch of other things they could do to make a lot more power than trying to use humans. Someone pointed out, hell, well, why don't they just use cows? Hell, you got a simple matrix to make. If you got to keep the cows asleep, just give them a lawn and they'll be happy. Humans, it don't make any sense. But that's because those assholes interfere with their story the way they told it. It made great sense if they're using them for processing power, because the human brain is a great computer, right? I don't even think they have a computer yet that can remotely match what the human mind is capable of naturally. Stupid. Movies with aliens in them. Yeah, I'd have to think about it more. I'd probably complain about a lot of them, because they all they just almost all of them make stupid mistakes or have stories that don't make any sense for some reason. Michael says Shatner in Fanboy. Oh, he responded to him. I see. Okay. I thought that was a character name. Not sure what you're talking about there. Rimmill says, it is said that the velociraptor is highly intelligent, and if the conditions permitted, they could have evolved into a form similar to humans. Yeah, I saw where someone made like a model or a drawing of what they thought they could evolve into, but it was ridiculous, because there's no reason to think that they would have evolved into the same form as us. I think some people have this idea that things that evolve, like advancement, equates to evolving into the shape of a human. It doesn't. There's no there were specific circumstances that led us into being the shape that we are. And there's no reason to think that a velociraptor would have evolved into that form. That was just people, they want people to watch their stupid documentary and wow them with the possibilities, and then probably feed into the people who have this whole idea that they think there's these reptilian aliens infiltrating our world. And yeah, there's no reason to think that. Now, could they evolved to be as intelligent as us or even more intelligent than us? Sure. But there's no reason to think that they would evolve to be the same shape as us. That's just ridiculous. And that has nothing to do with intelligence, and it would only happen if they were exposed to the correct evolutionary pressures to make them change to that form. Rimo says, yeah, we typed it, messed up a word. Why are we doing time in YouTube prison? Yeah, Mr. Lee. Yeah, I wish I had some way. Like I just have very rough sketches of what the ship is. It's extremely large, though, and has the ability to. They have the ability to take care of that. Plus, you remember they got replicators. They could replicate some krill or whatever, depending on what species of whale you're dealing with. If they really needed to, they could do that. But yeah. Um, will they mess with 9 of us? I don't know, man. They might. Or they'll get 9 more just to be safe. Hell. The microwave baby burner. Pyro says, I was trying to ask Grimiel if he retracted it and spell check fucked it up. It often does. Oh, okay. Ron Perlman, yeah. 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 Have you heard that their HR Geiger was a genius? He was. I don't, you know, that original Alien movie was real good. But here with these more recent movies, Covenant and Prometheus, I think. I'm forgetting the names now, where they got the freaking android involved, and they're trying to come up with an origin story for the aliens. I'm like, why couldn't the aliens just be something that was found on the planet somewhere that evolved somewhere else? Why do we got to get this android involved that engineered them out of the black goo stuff and all that from the other aliens? And they just, I don't know. I don't know what they were doing there. Um, but yeah, I was going to say, because I remember Ron Perlman being in one of the Blade movies. The Blade movies I thought, were pretty good. I mean, because the reality is, vampires is always going to be ridiculous, right? But it's fun to watch sometimes. And I remember he was in one of those, but no, they're gonna, I guess, remake or reboot the Blade franchise. I can't remember how to pronounce that guy's name, but um, I guess they're gonna reboot it. I think they should just leave it alone. I wouldn't expect, unless they write something pretty good, like get a good writer and they don't put a bunch of woke crap in there, that movie will flop like a fish. Pyro says Ken Jennings got smoked by the Jeopardy computer. Yeah. Remiel says, I liked how they depicted the alien in the movie Signs, and the Battle of Los Angeles was a cool movie. The fighting, I didn't watch the Battle of Los Angeles. I guess I should one of these days. Something that it just didn't attract me. The the uh, the commercials, the trailers didn't attract me. Signs, I don't know. That was kind of goofy with a kid beating up a. Why have we got a kid beating an alien with a baseball bat? I I don't know, man. Bigfoot and On's up in here. Just seeing you, man. Sup? everyone, he says. Just got off Gypsy Road show. Hope everyone has a good night. Yeah, y'all are over there telling stories, right? Remiel says H.R. Geiger made the artwork he called the Demon of the Necronomicon. The concept for the alien in Sigourney Weaver's movie. Yeah. Yeah, he was in Sons of Anarchy too. I watched that quite a bit for a while there. It was pretty good. Mr. Lee says his mate has a face hugger tattooed around his head. Dickhead. Yeah. And I wonder how that affects his job prospects. He's covered in Geiger tattoos. Well, it was the alien was pretty unique, and I mean, part of what interests me is they tried to make a pretty decent like a life cycle for this alien and all that stuff, and but then in the sequel movies that they made, Covenant and Prometheus, they just kind of fucked it all up, and Alien 4, where they cloned her, right? Well, how are you going to clone someone and a parasite in her body is also in her, and they had DNA exchange between the two? You know, it just didn't make any goddamn sense. Saying, "What's up, brother?" BPXM's in the house. Terra Cryptids is here too. Hey guys, there's a fan theory that the aliens in the Signs movie were actually demons. The aliens are more believable. Demons, huh? I didn't see anything that indicated. It looked to me like they were just aliens. There's always got to be someone with some whacked out theory that don't even make sense. Some of the theories that people come up with are pretty cool, but yeah, I'm not seeing demons. um, I'm trying to think of other movies. Mr. Lee, you mentioned alien movies with aliens in them. I don't really. It's not something I think about. What favorite movie? What's my favorite movie? I don't know. I just know that so many of the movies lately have been so much just garbage that it isn't going to be anything recently. For the most part, I mean, there's a few movies that come out that are good though. Now I haven't watched Joker, the newer Joker, but there's a lot of people reacting good to that, and from the previews and stuff, and the clips I've seen and all that, it looks like it's probably pretty good. But I'm just not very interested in I'm just not very interested in Joker and stuff like that. I mean, if I have nothing going on, I happen to be sitting around and it's there, then maybe I'd watch it. But I wasn't going to break my boycott of movies to go see it. Um, yeah, so um, now I can't remember when Cloud Atlas came out. That actually I thought was a pretty good movie, but it might be for some people it might be a hard follow if they're not used to movies where there's time travel and there's different things going on and different timelines, and in the case of Cloud Atlas, those things are related in those different timelines, and I thought it was a pretty good movie. I don't remember if there was any aliens involved, though. Um, yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I guess Bigfoot Anon's gonna get a Bigfoot tattoo. Huh. Um, Clover? I don't think I watched Clover. Starship Troopers? Yeah, I mean, I liked it. It's a goofy ass movie, though. Um, it had some political messaging in it, though. Kind of addressing a dictatorship kind of situation there. No, I haven't. I haven't seen Sputnik. Cloverfield, I think that's what he's talking about, yeah. BPXM, most present movies don't trigger excitement because people woke up to the point of seeing poor narrative. Yeah. Just such crappy writing anymore. And you just got too many, execs and producers and even directors trying to be writers. Let skilled writers do the writing and don't go screwing with it, because they like I said with like the Matrix, that was a stupid decision, all because somebody thought that the viewers would not understand the whole concept that they were using humans for processing power. Oh, let's use them for batteries. No, let's change it to batteries. No, people understand. Look, that movie had all this freaking philosophical crap in there, and you don't think they're going to understand people are using the robot, the machines are using the people for processing power. Jesus Christ, just dumb using them for batteries. That's just dumb. Mark's got cut out. Enjoyed the show. Catch you all next time. Thanks for coming. We'll see you. Hereditary. Yeah, I wasn't gonna watch that. Yeah, that looked crazy. I'm not a horror movie fan though. I mean, because the horror movie genre, it's a genre. Does its purpose is to be scary, right? Well, I know it's a movie. I'm not gonna be scared, So it's kind of, I'm just not interested in getting scared. I know it's not real. It's just never. So the its entire purpose in its entertainment value is it's scary for the people that like those kind of movies that want to be spooked, right? Well, don't work on me. And now, occasionally, a horror movie will have other elements to it that are interesting. Event Horizon, but it was kind of a sci-fi horror. I kind of liked it. It wasn't great, but it was okay. But typically, I don't watch horror movies just because I just don't really. It's not my thing. The first-person perspective. Never seen Hereditary. I couldn't look at that little girl on the freaking posters or whatnot. It's like, what the hell is this? Did you? Yeah. I haven't watched it in a very long time, but I don't have my copies of it anymore. I had a lot of movies used to, but now I don't got them anymore. VPXM says I have Cloverfield, Star Wars, Starship Troopers are also good. My first Blu-ray I bought was Independence, an independent movie, or you talking about Independence Day? That was an okay movie. That's another example. They should not have made a sequel. That was stupid. Independence Day was okay, but you kind of just gotta have fun with that and don't think about it too much. I like the fight scenes in Matrix. That's about it. Yeah, it's funny how people wanted to replicate that in other movies. After that, everybody was making fun of that bullet time stuff, and uh, PXM says the Matrix trilogy is awesome because it was first for me to trigger major thinking about where we are and how we live. Yeah, it probably did mess with some people's heads. That's probably why a lot of people are jumping on this whole holographic universe thing. Now, technically, if you look at the right science, it is kind of right. But I mean, we're not in a computer simulation now. But yeah, that would take too much to explain. Actually, if you want to dive into that, you need to go over to Theoria Apophysis channel, and um, good luck. But he talks about how and the how and the why we're kind of are in a simulation, and what the science is behind that, which you're not going to hear from mainstream science because you know they're wrong. Um, nice collection. Yeah, it was an okay movie. Freddy Krueger scared you, Lockbeard? No, it was. I thought Freddy Krueger movies were stupid. I had friends that loved them. Like they would watch the movies, and I'd be there, but I really wasn't paying attention because I was like, "What is this stupid shit?" War of the Worlds would have been better if it didn't have Cruise in it. Do you not like Tom Cruise? I don't know. That's again that was one like why did they remake that? They didn't need to remake that. And I'm not even saying that because I liked the original movie. I thought the original movie was stupid too, um, and that's why I just it's like this wasn't even a good movie really. It might have been good for the time to people in the early days of sci-fi, but it's just not. Don't remake stupid shit. Sometimes they remake stupid shit, and I'm like, what are you thinking? Can't you guys think of new, you know, original stuff? Why you got to remake everything? The first Blade Runner had me questioning my purpose. Yeah, VPXM same here. I love sci-fi because a lot of what was conceptualized for the set is reality now. In some cases, yeah. Thoughts on why is it every time someone mentions Tom Cruise, Scientology comes up? Um, much bullshit. It's about bunch of bullshit. What's with that fucking A-man dumb iPad? What? I don't know. I don't know, man. Pyro says Blade Runner remake was rubbish. Yeah, they should have just left it alone. Don't remake stuff. They remade so much shit. Like they remade Total Recall. You didn't need to remake. Look, if Arnold played in it, you don't remake that. Okay, you just leave it alone. That's just you're disrespecting Arnold. Damn it. Pyromatic or Remiel says Pyromatic. I read the Blade Runner novel first before I saw the movie. Android's Dream of Electric Sheep. Then I became a Blade Runner fan. Huh. Oh man. Yeah, they shouldn't do remakes of this stuff. It's just don't do it. VPXM says Scientology. This is Jim. We got a spaceship coming. This is Tom Cruise. Everything will be all right. What? Not sure I'm getting it. Yes, with that Ryan Gosling fella. There's a lot of movies with Tom Cruise in them that I like. That I think maybe even underrated to an extent, like Oblivion. Um, excellent music in that, an excellent score. Um, you know, the story. Don't think about the story too much though, because it doesn't really make sense. But it was just kind of a good movie, despite that. And then what was that movie? Edge of Tomorrow. Time travel bullshit, but I still thought it was a pretty good movie. And that was Tom Cruise. Um, Way back in the day, Legend. He was in Legend. That I like that movie. Um, I didn't watch Cocktail. It didn't interest me. I did watch Top Gun though. That was okay, but it's not top of my interest. It was an okay movie though. He played in the Mummy remake, or well, if you can call it he played in the Mummy. There were whoever got the dumb idea to do a cinematic universe of the old movie monsters should be fired. And it was just a non-memorable movie. It had Tom Cruise as the main character, and it just why. Now the movie with Brendan Fraser, or the how many movies they make. Anyway, that was awesome, and it wasn't following the old Mummy movie from back in the day. It wasn't trying to be that. It was trying to be um, something new, and it was actually, I thought, pretty good. Cocktail in it. VPXM says, I don't mind Tom. Yes, Oblivion is an awesome movie. Yeah. Yeah. And again, the music for it was great. And I don't know. Sometimes I think they need to get some other opinions on their scripts. So they should have done something different with that script and a lot of it, but it still turned out to be a good movie to watch. I thought I just gotta let it go. Yeah, the mummy with Tom Cruise. Yeah, it was stupid. I haven't seen that, Mr. Lee. Raised by Wolves. I haven't seen that one. VPXM Edge of Tomorrow, I think, had an interesting underlying premise because it portrayed early notion of Avatar style body swipe. Huh? Body swipe. I don't know what you mean by body swipe. Are you talking about that, like having that mechanical body thing that they had, or that mechanical? I don't know. Um, Ripley did it in Alien. Uh, was it an Alien? Was it the first Alien or the second one? She did it first with a freaking forklift. Um, and then, of course, the Matrix had a suit, but that was is the same problem in all those circumstances, though. Like, you're exposed to being killed. Like, why isn't the pilot of the machine armored? In Matrix, it was like that, and in Edge of Tomorrow, it was like that. Um, it wasn't as bad in Avatar, that thing they had, but it was still kind of like that. Like, why is your pilot exposed to? You got this serious machine that they're wearing or riding in, and you leave their body completely exposed. But it was funny that one guy in Edge of Tomorrow was wearing his uh, his mechanical suit, but he was like naked. That was crazy. It's a series. Raised by Wolves is. Maybe I will one of these days. I don't know. Um, VPXM says dying, coming back to war all over again. Um, I'm trying to figure out what you mean because it portrayed early notion of Avatar style body swipe. I'm not really sure. Um, Pyro says I enjoyed the latest Kong. It wasn't just a redo of the others. Remiel says VPXM. I love that dirt bike in Oblivion. Inspired me in some way to get a trail motorcycle. Yeah, but why did he have a motorcycle? He's got a plane or whatever that thing is. Why couldn't he just fly around? Why did he have a motorcycle? I don't get it. I think they just wanted to. I don't know why they had that. I mean, it maybe look cool to people, but I just don't. I just don't. He's going to cover a lot more ground faster from the air, flying. Well, except he was going back to his own body, though. Like he was just being. I mean, it was just like time was turned back for him. He wasn't going to another body. He was always in the same body. Um, but I'm just not sure how that like they tried to explain it where it made some kind of sense, but time travel never makes sense though. It never makes sense. Like there might be some movie somewhere where it might somehow make sense. Like the only way they can make it make sense in some movies is that they say that, well, to the universe prevents paradox by creating an entirely new universe. So you're in another timeline. So you're not, you know what I mean? It's like, so wait a minute. One person makes one decision different, and you spawn an entirely new universe. The whole damn thing, it doesn't make any goddamn sense. And if they don't spawn a new universe, well, they've got a paradox of some kind almost every single time. So I don't know why they put time travel and everything. I mean, like they did it in the MCU. They wrote themselves into such a fucking corner that their only way out was time travel. That's the only thing I can guess. Like they don't know, because with time travel you can just oh, we'll just erase what we did wrong. It's lazy story writing, is what it is usually. The dude's like, well, we screwed this universe up. Now we can do a time travel episode and just fix everything. Well, that's how they ended Voyager. You know, I mean, they couldn't. They just nobody wanted to spend the time or the thought to write a good script for the finale, and they're like, oh, we'll just have Janeway go back in time and save the Voyager. She's gonna suck him out of the. She's gonna break the rules and bring Voyager home early, and then we can end the series. So I think they did it just so they could end the series, because they couldn't end the series. Well, they could have, but they were probably thinking they couldn't end the series until Voyager gets home. But we wrote this story that Voyager was like 70 years away. So how do we get them back like now so we can end this bitch and we all go home? They're like, time travel. Voyager, Janeway's gonna go back in time and get them home early. Lazy fucks. What trial bike do you have? What trail bike do you have? Yes. It was a floatable motorcycle. He rides it to get the hard case. I guess I don't know. I wasn't feeling it. But, whatever. I mean, I think the movie was good. It was alright. So, um, Time Machine was decent as well. Yeah, that actually was a pretty darn good movie. The Time Machine was. Yeah. But you see what happened there, right? He was going back in time, trying to change the past, but you can't change the past. It was the same. It was the paradox. If she doesn't die, he won't be driven to build the time machine, and then he won't be able to go back in time to save her, because he go back in time and save her. Well, then she never dies, and then you never get driven to build a time machine, nor do you know that you need to go back in time. It doesn't make any damn sense. Time is there for a reason. So shit don't happen at the same time, and things happen in an order, and it's just, you can't. Time travel is dumb, and they keep trying to put it in all these sci-fi movies, and it just doesn't belong. But I mean, time travel was still, or Time Machine was still a good movie. Um, it was basically, when he wrote that story, he wrote that a long time ago. Uh, Everyone making sci-fi today, if they would read that and understand, time travel doesn't make any goddamn sense. Don't write sci-fi with time travel. I think it's possible maybe someone could write something that makes some sense that's actually good, but usually it's just stupid and they just shouldn't do it. Now, the exception to that I would say is if someone time travels to the future, because then you don't end up with paradoxes, you just skipped ahead. But not going back, I should specify. PPXM says creating an entire universe cannot be made with energy from the first one. Scientists like to say that because they really have no clue. Exactly. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They try to say, oh, there's got to be all the... No, there doesn't got to be shit. You guys just don't understand what you're looking at yet, and you can't just admit that. You don't understand how the universe actually works. Now, if they'll go over to Theoria Apophysis channel, he will tell you how the damn thing works. I ain't going to take the time to do it, but he seems very interested in telling people that. And so they can go to his channel. He explains the whole... It's not that hard. But when people have been indoctrinated by mainstream science, it's hard for them to... They're brainwashed. They're basically brainwashed to think the universe works a certain way, and now they don't know what the fuck is real and what to believe if they run into this stuff. And then over on his channel, he has a damn flat earthers show up and think that his explanations for how the universe works somehow fits with the flat earth thing. It does not. He explains that it does not. He said it so many times before, and they don't listen because they think that his theories work with their worldview. The electric universe people are the same way. They think that he's actually validating their idea of how the universe works, and he's not. I guess nobody understands, but I don't know what to do about this shit. I don't want to do shit about it. I'm just going to sit here and let civilization try to figure it out, because Mr. Lee, I have a Honda X-Rim motorcycle designed in Asia for farm use. Huh. Yes, that was good. Love the original Time Machine movie. Yeah. I used to do competitions when I was younger. I love the adventurous bikes at BMW. Let's see. Try to catch up to you guys. VPXM says Lockbeard, time travel cannot produce paradoxes since all is done in the same space. When you go back and see yourself, there'd really be two of you. Yeah, that would end up being a paradox. So, I mean, if you don't remember seeing yourself in the earlier point in the timeline, seeing the version of you that came back in time, then how can you go back in time? You see what I'm saying? It becomes a paradox anyway. It's always a paradox. If you try to change anything, if you so much as breathe in the same room, it becomes a paradox. But I mean, that's why, like, a lot of people like to believe that one day science will learn how to travel back in time. Not going to happen. It can't be done. It it would break the merry-go-round if it were to happen. It just can't though. The universe don't function like that. It's got a course and it's got to stay on it. And you can't. It won't work. Now travel forward in time is a different story. Now I ain't gonna go too far down that rabbit hole, but yeah. Yep. Even if it kills the other will not magically just disappear. They won't, because the time travel wouldn't happen anyway. Is what I'm saying. It's not possible. I know a lot of people like to fantasize that it is, but it's not. It always doesn't make any logical sense. Remiel says, "Oh, that's correct. That dirt bike in Oblivion is supposed to be electric. I got one now." Power says, like Kirk taking the Klingon ship around the sun. I thought, how the hell would that do? But how the hell would that do to conceivably affect time? Yeah, it was dumb. It was just dumb. I mean, I wish there wasn't time travel in the Star Trek universe. You know, like with writing it, like basically I have to start the whole thing on my series idea with time agents stopping Janeway because she fucked everything up. It's already part of the universe. I just kind of have to roll with it, you know. And everything's affected by time travel in Star Trek, so it's just Mr. Lee and ADV Fisher bike would be all that machine. Are you Tom Real? Are you Tom Cruise in disguise? I doubt he is. That's classified, Mr. Lee says. VPXM says, Pyro, normally it doesn't. You need to affect frequency of matter and something else. Can't remember, tired. You need to talk about, yeah. You just gave yourself away, Remiel. You can't be Tom Cruise if you don't buy into Scientology. I know it's like some kind of cult. It is, well, yeah. Have you guys seen the South Park episode where they make fun of them bastards? VPXM says, since regular time travel happens daily by motion, car, or airplane, big boys probably already figured out how to push time without traveling, without saying too much. You mean forward, though? Because backwards ain't possible. And it just isn't. But forward, yeah, conceivably, but yeah, unless he's a paradox. Hmm. Um. Yeah. Maybe he is a paradox. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that at this point in time, you can't be Tom Cruise and not a Scientologist. Matter frequently has spin. Spin is either positive or negative. Remiel not being Tom Cruise. Well, yeah, but we've already been on here for 2 hours, y'all. I don't know if I want to be trying to do 3 hours all the time. So, how about we wrap her up? And I'm sure I'll see a lot of you on some of the other live streams. PPXM, so I got to split soon as well, big guy. Yeah. Saturday night, going to talk some Bigfoot again. And I don't know when I'll do another random live, but I got to go out of town tomorrow. Won't be back till the next day. You need your sleep, man. Great talk, so yeah, I need my sleep. It's late. It's real late. Remio says, Pyro, yeah, LOL. So, what time is it? It's like 2 in the morning up in here. Yeah, well, thank y'all for hanging out. I guess I'll see y'all next time. Have a good night.